Siddhartha Gautama laid forth the basic teachings of Buddhism. A religion spreads with communicative processes that pass on the religion. Monks and nuns are educated with the Buddhist philosophy so that they can spread the teachings throughout the world. Over time, the education process has developed many sects of Buddhist education and institutions. I would like to focus on the education of Tibetan Buddhist monks of the Gelug tradition. My sources reflect 20th century traditions, although much have historic origins. Monastic education has three central practices: memorization, the reading of commentaries, and dialectical debate. First, I will speak of the two most influential people in a student's life, and then go into the three central practices. When new students come to the monasteries, they are assigned to a jak gigi gin, or a room teacher. These teachers direct the young students' daily lives. They serve as guidance counselors in the new surroundings. A new student has to remain under his teacher's direction for the entire time he is a novice and for 10 years after being ordained. Only if he has attained the proper education can the young student be fully independent. Room teachers introduce the young students to monastic customs, texts that must be memorized, behavioral standards, and the attendance of required rituals. The guidance role of a room teacher is taken very seriously. Room teachers are punished for the misbehaving of their students. This being known, room teachers are known to use physical force to instill discipline. There are no formal rules to stop such behavior. Only the swaying of opinions can deter physical punishment. Room teachers are also in charge of young monks' financial accounts in Tibet. Young monks give the teacher all of the money they have when entering the monastery and what they earn while attending the monastery. The room teacher then uses the money to provide food, clothing, and other necessities. Aside from establishing logistical aspects, the student begins educational efforts. Once the student has memorized the prescribed texts and has made an offering based on wealth to the monastery, the young student is allowed to take part in scholastic education. When a student enters scholastic academics, he must now attain a new teacher. A Peije Gegin, or a scholastic teacher, is chosen by a new student once he or she is ready to start his scholastic career. Scholastic teachers are in charge of academics and spiritual education. Each new student searches and requests a teacher who will take him in as a disciple. Students may work with other teachers but are strongly advised to consult their own teacher first. The freedom of choice is present, but oftentimes is limited, because room teachers often recommend scholastic teachers of whom they have a link with. The relationship between teacher and student can be illustrated more of as an apprenticeship than modern schooling. There is a tremendous amount of respect between students and a teacher. A student states, "We have always considered it extremely important to obey religious teachers. We had the same reverence for our teachers as for our parents." This respect is fostered at an early age. Religious teachers visit the homes of young children to formulate a habit of showing respect. The young children often serve monks as early training for obedience and respect. This is then reinforced in the monasteries. These teachers play a large part in a student's typical day. An average day begins with the rising bell at 5 a.m. 2 hours of meditation is the first activity to be undergone. After breakfast, prayers continue until 9 a.m. The performance of assigned tasks for the maintenance of the monastic institution occurs after breakfast. For the remainder of the morning, monks attend classes on either religious rituals or important Buddhist texts or sutras. These lessons are to be memorized. To not memorize is considered an inappropriate engagement in abstract philosophical discussion. Memorization infers that the lessons have become knowledge, and therefore respecting the lessons and the texts. Lunch is followed by an hour-long debate where groups of monks test each other's knowledge of Buddhist scriptures and philosophy. The afternoon brings more classes, and from 5 to 6:30 p.m. there is another debating session. Dinner is followed by revision of the text memorized during the morning sessions. After, the monks may either retire to bed or pursue their own meditation in private. Education is quite intense, so students do not just go through the motions. Memorization is the preparation for the central part of the scholastic education, being the interpretation of the great texts. Passage from one to the other is often quite difficult. One must not only be able to recite thousands of pages, but also be able to interpret them. Many students, such as in Tibet, begin their scholastic careers in monastic education, and many are barely able to read. This is a large hurdle to overcome when large amounts of text are to be committed to memory. The process is gradual, memorizing sentences by sentences of rituals. The extensive process helps students store, organize, and retrieve content. Monks memorize text through vocalization, where the only guide is the tune at which the words are strung together. The skill of memorization is the key in any form of education. Generally speaking, in the West, text is memorized for short-term memory recital. A general understanding of the text is required for long-term memory. Buddhist texts are memorized strictly for long-term memory. Strict recital and a complete understanding of the educational material is asked of in the long run. Young children in Buddhist monasteries are capable of reciting pages upon pages of text. This would be a very rare occurrence in Western education. Memorization sets the backbone for the rest of the monastic education. Commentary becomes the new focus, and it exhibits the following three structural traits. Commentary is metawork that bears a direct relation to a well-defined initial text. It is mostly concerned with the text that it pertains to. It does not impose its own order, but follows the order of the text it explains. Tibetan scholars mention two types of commentary. Shik-dreol, or word commentaries, explain a text passage by passage, or with text explanations. Don-dreol, or meaning commentaries, summarize topics without giving a passage-by-passage explanation. The process of developing or using commentaries can be explained in the three levels of critical acumen, or understanding. The first level is the acumen arising from listening. This is the understanding one gains from studying, or preliminary understanding from reading a text or listening to somebody's explanation. The second level is the acumen arising from thinking. This is investigating the implications of the text, or coming up with doubts or comments to the text. The third level is the acumen rising from meditation. Meaning penetrates deep layers of the mind, thus attaining a full understanding of commentaries. Commentaries can be summarized as a central text occupying the center of a page, with one's own comments filling the margins. Once a student understands commentaries and can apply them, he or she must learn how to debate the deeper questions raised by the text. There are two types of debate. Individual debate involves a debate between two people. The Rikshlampa, or questioner, stands, and the Dongchawa, or defender, sits. If a defender does well, he or she will remain in the sitting position and will be approached by others who have finished their individual debates. Formal debates involve the entire group focusing on a single debate. One or two students sit as defenders, while the others sit in rows facing the defenders. All who are present can step forward and question. Questions are meant to draw out consequences of the defender's statements. The questioner tries to force his opponent either to contradict himself or to contradict common sense. He must be able to break down complex arguments into simple elements that can be expressed in a chain of well-formed consequences that follow each other logically. He must also keep track of the position of his opponent and where he wants to take him. The defender must figure out the questioner's strategy and thwart his efforts, using only one of the three answers. The three possible answers include de, or I accept, tuk madup, or the reason is not established, and kipa mangchum, or there is no connection. The defender must act quickly. If delayed, the questioner will urge the defender on with rhythmic triple hand claps. The physical aspect of debate involves clapping the hands by the questioner. The bringing together of the hands symbolizes the union of two aspects of the path, wisdom and method. This gesture, among others, functions primarily as triggering the intellectual capacities of the debaters and capturing the attention of the audience. The goal of these organized debates are to encourage students to inquire and debate on their own. There are many different sects of monastic education, and I have tried to summarize the basic characteristics of Tibetan Buddhist education of the Gelug tradition. Monastic education is one that differs greatly from Western education. Siddhartha Gautama was the first teacher. The rest follow in his footsteps. It is a life of devotion and concentration. Westerners end the scholastic world with intentions of leaving the school realm. Monastic education is lifelong devotion. A strict daily routine outlines each day. Texts are to be memorized word for word so that they may be recited to aid in commentary and debate. It is wonderful to see young people committing to educating themselves. Tibetan monastic education is not for the academically light-hearted. The grueling curriculum demands a lot of its students, but produces scholars of the Buddhist faith who become capable of faithfully spreading the teachings of the Buddha.